All right, we should be in business. Hopefully everything's working correctly this time. I'm just double checking to make sure. Yep, looks like the sound's good. We did the private stream. My microphone was not working when we started, so I had to do a little adjustment. How's everybody doing today? It's kind of a back and forth weather day here in Ohio. It was cold this morning, but the sun is out, and we're doing this weird thing this time of year where it's really, really warm one day and then it's really cold the next day. So just the way it goes sometimes. We don't get a lot of sunshine though, so whenever we get sun, we very much like it. Snapshot in history. Where are you in Kentucky? Marcel, what's going on, my friend? Good to see you. Marcel's one of my European friends that I've gotten to know over the last year. We've been on several Band of Brothers tours together. Doofus John, yes, thank you. There were a couple of people who recommended Chronophoto to me, so going to try it out today. Brandon, West Yorkshire, very cool. You also have the same name as my son's soccer coach. How's East Palestine? Good question. There's some issues for sure. We've been seeing a lot of videos of people like finding chemicals coming up out of the ground because in East Palestine, the surface is very close to bedrock, so there's not a lot of places for that stuff to go when it sinks into the ground. So it just kind of sits there and then it runs into the groundwater nearby. And I know that all the way downriver on the Ohio River in Cincinnati, where they get their water from the Ohio River, they're not getting the water from the river right now. So there's definitely some issues that they're working on. Miranda Johnson, you and your boyfriend love watching my videos. Awesome. Thank you so much for that, to you and your boyfriend. Appreciate that. New point, the Discord is active. I don't advertise it because I'm not involved in it. I did set it up, and there are a couple of people who moderate it. We just have to get one of them to give you the link because I'm not involved with it anymore. So here's how Chronophoto works. And you guys can throw out some questions if you have Q&A stuff while we're doing this. Yeah, they did deny, the federal government denied FEMA aid. So what it does is it shows you a picture, and you have to guess what year the picture was taken. And you get points based on how close you are to that. That's my understanding of how this works. We had another kind of crazy thing happen here, and I thought like the world was falling apart in this area. I was sitting here at about 3 o'clock, and boom, like our house shook. Like I thought like a car hit our house or something. About 15 miles away, there's a plant, and a boiler exploded at the plant, and it shook our house. Like 20, 30 miles away, people were saying it shook their house. Nobody was hurt, and there were no chemicals involved. It was just a boiler, and it was like steam. So they were already repairing it, and everything was back up and running, and it was a minor thing, but it freaked everybody out, especially with what just happened. Sander, what's going on? You're going back to Bastogne tomorrow? Yes, we do need to play Hearts of Iron 4 again soon. You're all from Beattyville. That's right. Oh, man. So let me show you something real quick. Since you're from Beattyville, Snapshot in History, I want to show you something because my great, five greats, my fifth great grandfather on my direct male line. So like my father's 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 father going all the way back to my fifth great grandfather. So 7 generations back on my direct male line. The house that he built is still there. And I want to show you guys this because it's so cool. And it was lived in until maybe a couple of decades ago. So there's Beattyville right there. And just down the river from there is St. Helens, which is where my father's family is from, St. Helens. In fact, multiple generations of my ancestors are buried in St. Helens Cemetery, including my great-great-grandparents are buried in St. Helens Cemetery. So I've been there. So right over here on this little street called Hieronymus Loop is the house that was built by my fifth great-grandfather. I'm looking to see. Is this it? No, it's down this way further. But I want to show it to you because it's so crazy. Not only is the house there, but the slave quarters are still there. It's right in here. So it's like all of this land right here was all owned by my fifth great grandfather. We have the map. He owned like this whole bit along the North Fork of the Kentucky River. All of this was his, and they were the postmasters there. But let me show you the house, because there's a lot of great pictures of the house. So David Snowden Jr. is my direct male line. My last name is my mother's maiden name because my parents were never married, but my father's last name is Snowden, so Snowden is my male line. So David Snowden Jr. is my fifth great grandfather who came from Pennsylvania to Kentucky around 1790, 1800. This house we know for sure was built before 1825 because my fourth great grandfather was born in this house in 1825. So it's amazing. I've been there. I got to walk around the house. But you have the original part of the house, and then you have the part that was added on. There's the well to the house. There you see it there. But there's actually, let me see if I can find the pictures. So there's the slave quarters right there on the left. That was the actual slave. They had 2 slaves in 1860. And I've been trying really hard to do research because I want to try and find out who they were. Because I descend from slaves myself from that area. And I'd love to know who those people were and maybe find their descendants and meet up with them at some point. All right. So anyway, church was great this morning. I baptized a guy about my age that he just married a lady at our church, and got to baptize him this morning. So that's the 3rd baptism I've done in the last 3 weeks. So that was pretty cool. All right, let's try this out. And if you guys have some questions and stuff like that, we'll go for it. So, all right. So this, to me, it looks like, I guess you only go 1900 to 2020. I'm getting like really strong, like 1920 vibes on this one. Because we see some old Ford cars. I think those are Fords back there. So Frederick West Lander, don't know enough about him to really have an opinion on that. Going to the Natural History and Geography B and driving through Ohio. Northern Ohio historic sites. Yeah, a lot of stuff related to the presidents. The photo was taken in 1920. Oh, perfect. I got all 1,000 points on that one. Woo, that was fun. So we can do like a group thing. All right, let me finish doing this. I don't know how many rounds it goes, and then we can do like a party thing. Yeah, my family, we're doing fine here. We're about 15 miles away from where that happened. Okay. So this has given me like late 60s vibes. So I'm going to go like 1968 on this one. Of course, there's a delay. So by the time, oh my gosh, it was 78. I was way off on that one. By the time you guys see these and you start telling me what you think, I will have already answered it most likely. Yeah, we could do some videos on the Northern Ireland Troubles at some point. World War II tier list video. Yeah, definitely got to do that. All right, so this... Aaron, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Greetings from Canton. Hey, just down the road, Steve. I'm thinking like 1930s for this one. I'm going to say like 35. Might even be earlier than that. Well, I missed President Carter. It's 38. I was close. Yes, absolutely. I think the world is a much better place with Jimmy Carter in it. So I'm very sad to hear the news, but I also know that he's a man of faith. And if I were in his situation with declining health, 98 years old, probably the decision I would make too. I think he's probably ready to go what he and other Christians would see as home, to be with the Lord. So I'm glad for him in that, but sad for the world because I think the world's a much better place with Jimmy Carter in it. Aaron Burr, give us a verse, drop some knowledge. Long Island, yeah, I need to get back there. I was just there 6 months ago. What parts of the UK have I been to? London, Windsor, York, Birmingham and the surrounding area, Edinburgh, Glasgow, Isle of Skye, and some other areas in the Highlands, Loch Ness, places like that. Carter did not die, but he's on a hospice care, it was announced. So he's decided to not continue having any medical treatments. So probably soon, I would guess. All right, this is a pretty new picture here. I don't see masks, though. I'm going to guess 2010-ish, maybe even like 2015. We'll go 2012. Did not see the Loch Ness Monster. I took a picture of a duck on Loch Ness and posted it and told everybody it was the Loch Ness Monster. Oh, it was 2002. I was way off. I did a Civil War generals tier list, Admiral History, maybe 6 months or a year ago. I have been to Kings Mountains, but not since I had the channel. I had a whole bunch of ancestors who fought at Kings Mountain. The last week I did some digging and kind of compiled my list of all of my known direct ancestors. So like 5th great-grandfathers, 6th great-grandfathers, 7th great-grandfathers who were in the Revolution. I've got 49 ancestors that I know of that fought in the Revolution. And I bet you a dozen of them fought at Kings Mountain because I had so many ancestors from North Carolina and Virginia who were in the militia, and that's pretty much who fought at Kings Mountain. Okay. Only believers can see Nessie. All right, this is looking to me like we're back to 1925, 1930. European anthem tier list. Yes, need to do that. Oh, and the Siege of 96, Austin, is another one where I had... What I want to do is I want to sit down, compile the service history of all 49 of my Revolutionary War ancestors, and then match those up with what battles and campaigns they were in, so that I know who was where. And I love to look at historic events through the eyes of my ancestors who were there. Because instead of just looking at it through the eyes of George Washington or Nathaniel Greene, I can look at it from Corporal so-and-so who was, in the battle. Eric, thank you. Appreciate that. Jacob, yes. Thank you. I could probably do one with a bigger list. Or maybe do one based on like best division commanders, best corps commanders, that kind of thing, best army commanders. Maybe do them broke down that way. I'm going to guess 1925. Holy cow, I was way off. That was 1949. Somebody said, yeah, Captain Contraband said, that's the 40s. I should have known better. Colette, do I like going over and studying actual history or alternate? Definitely actual history, but I think there's benefit in alternate history because it allows us to look at things from a very different way. What was Grant's greatest trait as a general? I guess that's all of them. Number one, his ability to stay focused and calm under pressure. In fact, a lot of people who knew Grant and Grant himself said that he actually seemed to be better under pressure. Incredibly important as a general because you see examples of generals who cracked under the pressure, who got stressed. Rosecrans at Chickamauga, he was tired, he was stressed, he did not make good decisions. Hooker at Chancellorsville is another example. Hooker, even after Jackson's flank attack, Hooker could have won the Battle of Chancellorsville, but he was stunned, he was fried, frazzled, whatever word you want to use, and did not focus well. Grant was very good at that. Grant was also very good at big picture thinking and grand strategy, and he was great at logistics. All right, you love my shorts? Yeah, I need to get back to doing more of those. Grant's memoir is 100% worth a read. Very, very good read. Wilhelm II, thank you, Kaiser, for that. Biggest differences between France and the U.S.? Great question. Besides the language, obviously. And one I would say that's not just France, but Europe in general. Maybe not the U.K., but mainland Europe. Much healthier food, and even the food that we do have that's the same, or the drinks, smaller portion sizes, less sugar, less processed food. I think the diet is much, much healthier in Europe than it is in the States, and that's why you see less fat people in Europe than you do in America. But otherwise, I saw a lot of similarities. Like when I was in Eastern France, Reminded me a lot of like central Pennsylvania. The culture was very similar. The landscape was very similar. It was a lot more alike than you would think. Anthony, thank you for that. Appreciate that very much. The German Empire is funding you, someone said. I have not been to Cowpens, but I had a bunch of family members who fought there, and I want to go there. Let's Split Up Gang, 1969. Hello in Gettysburg. So I mentioned this on the private stream, and I mentioned this a while back on here too. I guess we can do like a party here, huh? So we'll make the passcode VTH. So anybody who wants to go to... Do we have to... Oh, it's got to be a 10-digit passcode? Wow. Okay. So vlogging... Actually, you know what? I'll just generate a random one, and then I'll copy and paste it. And if you guys want to go to chronophoto.com and copy and paste that passcode, you can join this. And then we'll get started here in just a minute. What was I starting to say? Oh, okay. You forgot Craven Cottage, yeah. So was texting with Mr. Terry again last night because I've been trying to help him resolve his issues with oversimplified videos like I was able to do with mine. And we talked again about doing a stream, and I'm hoping that we'll make that happen very, very soon. Doing a collaboration together. So Mr. Terry collab coming soon. Try to do something with Mr. Beat again soon. All right, so... Thank you, Greg, for that. Top 5 favorite Ohioans. Okay. James Garfield. Ulysses Grant. Let's see. I'm trying to think of somebody that's not as well known, but not just presidents. John Glenn. That's a good one. Who else? Wow. It's hard to narrow it down because we've had so many great Ohioans. There's a lot of like great actors and singers and things like that over the years. Of course, we had the Wright brothers. LeBron James is a good. Dave Grohl is from my home area. I mean, my wife used to work. The building she worked in, her office was on Dave Grohl Alley. He's from here. So I was born in Warren, and that's where Dave Grohl's from. Chris Columbus is from here, from right down the road from where I live. Directed the first couple Harry Potter movies, did Goonies, Gremlins. So that's a good one. Tanner Mullins, thank you for that. I don't do family research for hire just because I had so many people wanting to do it. I just couldn't keep up with it. Maybe down the road at some point. Clark Gable's a good one. He's from Caddis. But Tanner Mullins is one of my family names. So shoot me an email, vloggingthroughhistory at gmail.com. Because I might at least trace your Mullins line, because I'm curious to see if you're related to me. My great-great-grandmother was a Mullins. MG, welcome to Student. Thank you for that. Lord Malcolm, we all see that you keep saying Birmingham is a dump. You don't have to keep saying it. Who was worse, Andrew Johnson or Woodrow Wilson? Man, that's like saying, do you want your left arm or your right arm cut off? I think Andrew Johnson was worse long-term for the country. I think Woodrow Wilson was the worst human being. He did Home Alone. Yeah, that's another one. Jesse Owens is from Ohio. That's a great choice, too. Excellent choice. I don't think Guy Fieri's from Ohio, is he? Halle Berry's from Ohio. Of course, all the big Civil War generals, like Union generals, a lot of them were from Ohio. Sarajevo would be a great place to visit someday. Underground Railroad video would be cool. We've got some Underground Railroad areas, sites here near where I live. I have done a DNA test for Ancestry. You guys, you know what's cool about Nikita Khrushchev? I met his son. His son's an American citizen, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I met him. He spoke at a school a few miles from here. And I got to meet Nikita Khrushchev's son. Khrushchev's son is an American. I think Stalin's grandkids are Americans. Hitler's nephews are Americans. Steven Spielberg is from Ohio. Another excellent choice. I forgot Steven Spielberg was from Ohio. That's right. All right, let me pull up my DNA summary for you here. Oh, they've updated my ethnicity estimate. Okay. They're always doing that. So here's my latest ethnicity estimate on Ancestry DNA. Michael, thank you for that. Yes, Hamlin de Warren is definitely in my family tree. I'm curious to know if it's closer than that. Neil Armstrong is from Ohio. The first time he ever flew in an airplane is like 10 miles from here where I live. He went to elementary school. Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger's from Ohio. Goering and Himmler's daughters live in Nevada. That's crazy. Yes, Jesse Brown did go to the Ohio State University. Very cool. Absolutely true. Zuka, you're from Georgia, the country. That's awesome. Favorite Hamilton song? Oh, goodness. Probably The World Was Wide Enough. We are all from Ohio. Okay, so here's my family tree, or my DNA. 63% from England and Northwest Europe. And keep in mind, you don't always inherit DNA equally from your parents. So just because it shows this does not mean, for example, that 63% of my ancestors were British. It's just what I inherited. 18% specifically from Scotland, 9% from Sweden and Denmark. Some of that, of course, could be English ancestry because there's Scandinavian ancestry in England. But I also do have some ancestors who actually came from Sweden. Ireland, 4%. My Irish ancestry is actually probably higher than that, just the way it worked out. Nigeria, 2%. Wales, 2%. And again, that should be higher, just the way the ethnicity gets inherited. Ivory Coast and Ghana, 1%. And Cameroon, Congo, and the Western Bantu peoples, 1%. But you can also see your breakdown as far as what areas your DNA comes from in terms of like locally. So let me show you. Then I can show you like my grandparents' DNA because it's kind of cool. I did my grandparents. It's not showing the American stuff anymore. It used to show the American breakdowns. I don't know why it's not doing that. You never told us you were a Viking. I have been to Alaska. My brother lives in Anchorage. I've been to Anchorage and to Bethel, which is on the west coast. I can tell you, Tupac M, exactly where my African roots come from. But here's my maternal grandfather. His is a little more interesting. 40% England, Northwestern Europe, and you can see specifically they have that narrowed down to the Midlands. My grandpa's great-grandfather was born in Birmingham. So that's where that comes from. Scotland, 17%. Norway, 9%. See, I didn't inherit any of that from my grandfather. Sweden and Denmark, 6%. Wales, 4%. Cameroon, Congo. So I've got a little bit of the African ancestry on my mother's side as well, but most of that comes through my father's line. And Greece and Albania, which is brand new. They've just updated that 1% now. So Khrushchev's son, he was giving a speech, and he did talk about his father. What is with all the Aaron Burr stuff? Hello, are you Aaron Burr, sir? Yes, who's asking? Oh, sure, sir, I'm Alexander Hamilton. I'm at your service, sir. Have been looking for you. I'm getting nervous. You know, that's not one of my favorite songs from Hamilton, but it's still pretty good. Michael, thank you for that. I do have Native American ancestry, but none of it shows up in the DNA. I have seen Generation Kill. It's very interesting. I've not been to any Civil War sites in Arizona, but I have been to Arizona several times. My mother lives in Tucson, so. All right, so let me show you my DNA, where that African ancestry comes from in my DNA. It's right here on my Howard line. So this is my great-great-grandmother on my dad's side. Now, both of my grandfathers, my maternal and paternal grandfathers, grew up in the same neighborhood. They lived like next door to each other because both families came from Kentucky to work in a brickyard in Niles, Ohio. It was a big migration from this little town called Olive Hill, Kentucky, to Niles, Ohio, because there was a brickyard in Olive Hill, and they got much higher wages to come to the one in Niles and work. And so there was this big migration. And my maternal grandfather told me he said, I remember one Holbrook lady, which would be my great-great-grandmother's married name. He said she looked like she was black, but she wasn't, and her kids weren't. And I said, well, yeah, that's my great-great-grandmother. Everybody assumed that she was an African-American because she was very genetically, these are my great-great-grandparents, and that's her there. And that's like really one of the only pictures I have of her. But let me show you her grandmother. Actually, her mother. So my great-great-grandmother's mother, her name was Margaret Peggy Cottle, and we don't know who her father was. Might have been the slave owner, for all we know. Peggy, this is her in the 1870 census, my great-great-great-grandmother. It's kind of hard to read. There's my fourth great-grandmother, her mother, Cheney Cottle. And then there's Peggy, 16 years old. And Cheney and Peggy are both listed as black in the census. And they were both born into slavery in Kentucky. They were owned by this family called the Cottle family. And by all accounts, treated pretty well by their owners. And we don't know the circumstances of how they got out of slavery, if it was after the war or when that happened. But Declonius Fever, thank you for that. I thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful President's Day as well. Okay, so let's go ahead. I guess I didn't close Chronophoto. So if you guys want to jump in on this Chronophoto thing, I think I put out the code already. I can't. If you go to chronophoto.com, here's the code. Give you one last chance, and then we'll start this. Most underrated Corps commander in the Civil War. Interesting question. Sedgwick. If I thought about that more, I might give a different answer, but Sedgwick's a pretty good answer, I think. He was a solid Corps commander. How did I become India's biggest history YouTuber? It's a mystery to me. Yes, I know about the Franklin expedition, and that's something we'll have to cover at some point on the channel. Why did Jefferson Davis get away? Why wasn't he prosecuted over the Ebenezer Creek incident? There was a very concerted effort not to prosecute the leadership of the Confederacy in general. There were 2 guys that were executed for war crimes during the war, but they were low-level guys. Hitler: Rise of Evil, starring Robert Carlyle. Yes, I have seen that. And actually, if you've ever seen the History Channel miniseries they did on Grant a year or so ago, that was really good, by the way. The actor who plays Grant in that, who I think did a great job, plays Joseph Goebbels in Hitler: Rise of Evil. He's a British actor. All right, so this first one, boy, this seems like early 50s to me. So that's what I'm going to guess on this one. Let's say like 52. Oh, 1941. Man, I was way off on that. Jeez. So I guess we got to wait for everybody else now. Or, yeah, give it a minute or so, and then I'll do next round. I don't know where you type in the code. Maybe you click on multiplayer or party, and then you enter the code in. Oh, Jefferson Davis, the Union general. Oh, I'm sorry. To the victors go the spoils. They didn't really prosecute any generals from the Union side. I have not seen Amsterdam. Do I own any guns? That's not a question I answer one way or the other. You can understand maybe the reasons why I wouldn't, not only for the political reasons, but also for privacy reasons. So I'll politely decline to answer that one. I will say this. My father-in-law was a huge gun collector and had a big safe you could walk into. Really loved guns, and I've done a lot of target shooting. Love that. I'm not a hunter, I have no problem with guns, by the way, if you're asking me that. All right, so we can click next round. Okay, I'm getting like a 1960-ish vibe on this, maybe early 60s. I'm going to go like 64 on that one. 59. Yeah, Explosive Caden. I'm sad about Jimmy Carter as well. Rob, different kind of privacy I'm talking about. We got Warwick Castle, Admiral History, high on my list of places I want to go to. Absolutely. Swords, no swords, but that reminds me, I got to put up something for him to hang this on the wall. My 15-year-old son, when we were in the UK, when we were in Edinburgh, there's this really cool store right outside of Edinburgh Castle. And we got him this dagger that has like the the emblem and everything of Richard the Lionheart on it. His crest. It's really, really cool. It's really heavy too. Country Comparer, thank you. I appreciate that. Was Lincoln a good man, do you think? Yeah, I think he was, by and large. I've been to Canada many times. Okay. Oh gosh. All right, this one feels like 1920s to me. I'm going to go... I initially thought 30s, but I'm going to go about 1925. 1930. World War I or World War II? World War I for me. Everybody talks about World War II. I want to be the different guy. John Tyler, a traitor to the U.S. in the strictest manner of speaking, yes. Would he have seen it that way? Probably not. Oh, man. This one's fascinating. That one, to me, this is like early 1900s, I think. But, you know, it's confusing because the building may be much older than the photo. And I can't tell much from her clothing. That hat, though, looks almost like a World War I hat. I'm going to go about 1910. Oh, 41. See, I was worried about that. Res Rising, thank you. Have I seen The Nick? No, I haven't. I'll have to check that out. Thoughts on Iron Brew? It tastes like bubble gum. It's all right. I had to try it because I was in Scotland, but I wasn't I wasn't really that into it, right? And I'm a guy that really gets into UK stuff. My wife and daughter love the porridge that you can get over there that we can't really get in the States. And they love black currant as a flavor for candy instead of grape. So I bought a bunch of Skittles for my daughter when I was over there. Have I met any U.S. president? Not really. I have been within a few feet of one, George W. Bush, but I've never actually met him. Thoughts on Ireland? Beautiful country, place I want to go. Has my wife shown up for this stream? No, actually, she might have been watching downstairs, but she's actually getting ready to take my son over to practice. He's going to go to the high school soccer field to do a little practice with a couple of his soccer teammates. Is Prince Andrew guilty? Yeah, he's probably guilty of something. Okay. This looks like a colorized photo from the 30s. You shook hands with Joe Biden in 2012. Very cool. 51. Oh, I was way off. I'm terrible at this. I would do better if they had 1800s photos on here. Porridge and black currant. Yes. All right, so I did terrible. That was not great. Not great at all. Would I stop World War I or World War II? Easy, World War I, because you stop World War I, there probably is no World War II. Have I met any vice president? No. I've met, I think the closest to a president or vice president I met, I was on a flight with Michael Reagan, Ronald Reagan's son. We were both flying into Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania airport to speak at different schools. He was speaking at one school, I was speaking at another school, and we had a great chat on the plane and at the airport afterwards. So that's the closest I've come to meeting anybody in the presidential world. I did see Richard Belzer died, yeah, from Law & Order SVU. Play Watford tomorrow. It's tough right now because we don't have our goalie. I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom over Watford. Need to win that one. Playing their old coach, Slaven Bilic, is the coach at Watford now. So West Brom's playing their old coach. Barbara Bush came to your high school. Favorite president for me is Theodore Roosevelt. I did hear about Jimmy Carter. The world is a much better place with Jimmy Carter in it, so I'm kind of sad to hear about that. 4 Jews were awarded the Iron Cross during World War II, but they all declined. I did not know that. Interesting. You've seen Bill Clinton speak? Weather and meteorology? Not a lot. Have I ever studied theology? Yeah. Went to school for that. History and theology. Been in ministry most of my adult life. Joni, I tried to meet the King of England. I went to his house when I was in London a few weeks ago, but he wasn't home. United are on the way back. Is Ronaldo or Messi the GOAT? Messi. Definitely Messi. What founding father that wasn't a president besides Hamilton would have made a good president? John Jay. No crazy Civil War ghost sightings for me. What type of music do I like? I like a little bit of everything. I like a lot of Christian music. I like country music. Pop, like Ed Sheeran. I like stuff like that. 80s music. I've been on a real 80s music kick right now. Listening to Bryan Adams and Jefferson Starship, stuff like that. Did I meet Ray Fife as a kid? I was actually friends. Ray Fife was a friend of mine. We played together a lot. He was a few years older than me. But yeah, I knew Ray real well. Where does Pele rank? Pele's probably the GOAT. But out of Messi and Ronaldo, I would say Messi. Richmond FC is the best team in Premier League Trust. Ted Lasso, new season coming out here in a couple weeks. Tier list of countries. Any chance of the U.S. joining the Central Powers during World War II? Early on, maybe an outside chance, but very unlikely. George Clinton might have been a decent president, yeah. I've never been to Finland. Who do I think is the most overrated president? Franklin Roosevelt. David Bowie, not really my thing. Coldplay's okay. A few of their songs are all right, not really my style. Yeah, it's always tough to rank players from different generations. What are my views on modern people rendering moral judgments on the past? It depends. I mean, I'm okay with it to a point. I think you need to consider the times in which they lived, but that doesn't mean we can't, we can make a moral judgment on slavery without automatically condemning every person who was a slave owner as being an evil, terrible person. They did evil, terrible things, but you know what? So did Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great man who did great things, who had some really serious character flaws and did some pretty awful things, maybe even criminal things. History's not black and white. It's all shades of gray. It's nuance. It's good and bad in every person. Clay CJM, thank you for that. If Stonewall Jackson was a Union general, would the war have ended earlier? No. I'm one of those guys who thinks Stonewall Jackson's overrated. He's got a mixed record, really, honestly. Jordan or LeBron every day of the week. And not just because he played for my team and Jordan kept beating my team back in the 80s and 90s. Oh, I'm not saying that FDR wasn't a great president. I'm just saying he's overrated. I think people think he's greater than he was. Still a great president, though. What do I think of Elvis? I'm not a huge fan of his music, but undeniably had talent. And I just found out he's my fifth cousin. I do like Calvin Coolidge. The Montrose, I don't want to get too much into it, but the FBI illegally spied on MLK, and in the process of illegally spying on him, recorded him taking part in some pretty horrible things. So that's all I'll say. You can look it up for yourself beyond that. Favorite black historical figure for Black History Month? Ooh, good question. Wow, there's so many great. I mean, Nelson Mandela is an easy choice there, right? That's one. I'm a huge fan of Harriet Tubman. She's amazing. Man, cool stuff. And then stories like, as an Ohioan, Jesse Owens is such a great story that he has. Jackie Robinson story is phenomenal. All these stories of people who faced incredible adversity and overcame are amazing to me, and I think are great stories to be told. There's so many more, obviously. I saw about half of the Elvis movie on my flight to London a month or so ago. Frederick Douglass, great story, absolutely. Morgan Freeman, who doesn't love Morgan Freeman? My goodness. Morgan Freeman is a national treasure. So is Denzel Washington. Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington are two of those actors that, for me, if they're in it, I'm watching it. And I know I will probably like it just because of that. My daughter and I were watching Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves the other day, one of my favorite Morgan Freeman roles. Ray Charles, yeah, super talented guy. Woodrow Wilson I don't think he vetoed the Volstead Act. If so, it was overridden because it became law. Malcolm X is a fascinating character for sure. Booker T. Washington's great. Samuel L. Jackson's good. Zach, welcome to Historian. Most underrated president of all time. Probably Polk. I have not heard Frank Caliendo's Morgan Freeman impression. What made me go into history and teaching it? I don't actually teach it other than YouTube. I mean, this is I went to school to be a history teacher, but I've never actually worked as a full-time history teacher. But it was just my love for history. It's always been something I'm passionate about, and I wanted to share that passion with other people, and now I get to do that through YouTube. Most overrated English or British monarch? Overrated? That's tough. Richard the Lionheart, definitely. I had to think about that for a second, but Richard the Lionheart. Grant M. Murph, I almost said Grant for most underrated president. That would be a solid choice as well. Coolidge is a good choice. Hey, Jamie Foxx is great. Jamie Foxx is the reason we have Ed Sheeran. He kind of helped discover Ed Sheeran. What am I doing tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow's President's Day. Probably hanging out with my family because my kids are off school. Why didn't I become a teacher? Because I went into youth ministry instead. George VI is one of my favorite presidents as well. Thoughts on Clement Attlee? Interesting person for the time that he came into things. I don't know a lot about him, really. But probably the right guy for the right time. What's for dinner? I don't know yet. That's a great question. I got to figure out what I'm making for dinner. Do I think Waterloo is overhyped? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. So, yeah, Jamie Foxx does good impressions. I don't get into the whole worst dictator thing because I think they're all bad. An SS member buried in Ellington. You talking about the soldier of 3 armies? I've been to his grave. I might even have that video on here. Hold on, let me check. I might have that video on my computer. Maybe not. I think it's on my external hard drive. Because I did like 8 videos worth of content at Arlington about a year ago, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I can cook. Yeah, I do almost all the cooking for our family. I am the guy who does that. Cooking stream when least favorite Hamilton song? Hurricane. Laurie Turney's name. Yes, there he is. That's the guy. Yeah, attorney ended up being killed in they were shot down, or it was a helicopter crash or something. So he's actually in a mass grave at Arlington. The grave marker has several names on it. But he's over in like the new section of Arlington with a lot of the very recent burials. Next site I'm visiting, probably the Shiloh battlefield. Do I speak any foreign language? French and German I can kind of understand, but I can't speak fluently. German I'm working on. I'm hoping to be conversational in German by the end of the year. But I need to get back on that. I was doing lessons every day for a while. Been to Audie Murphy's grave? Yep. More Titanic content? Sure. I can do that at some point. What is my favorite food? Chicken and dumplings. We can do one more of these picture things. Yeah, sure. Why not? All right, we'll generate a passcode here, and if you guys want to do it, you can let me know what your scores are when you do it. I haven't seen Salmonella's Banana Republic's video. I don't watch a lot of historic videos outside of my reactions, unless it's something I know I'm not going to do a reaction to, because I try to make my reactions natural and organic. So unless I say so up front, I haven't seen the video before when I do a reaction. So I don't watch a lot on my own because of that. I don't watch much hockey, no. Do I think Kurt Cobain was killed? Yeah, by Kurt Cobain. Cameron Andrews, thank you for that. My most famous relative. Oh, that one's easy. I'll show you a couple, and then we'll do this photo thing. So here's one of them. I don't know why she's showing up as paternal grandmother of wife of 9th great grandfather, because she's actually my ancestor. So 3 of my 4 grandparents descend from Pocahontas. So I'm actually descended from Pocahontas like 5 different ways. Just one of the natural things that happens when your family almost exclusively comes from Southwest Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, and Eastern Kentucky. And then Western North Carolina. Just inevitably, you're going to have those lines that go back there. Another one would be... This is not a direct ancestor, but he's my 8th great granduncle, is Daniel Boone. I'm descended from 2 of Daniel Boone's sisters. Both of my parents descend from sisters of Daniel Boone. So that's another one. Then this guy's not really famous in his own right, but he is a famous... let's see here. I'm doing the wrong thing, that's why. Oh, I keep screwing this up. Hold on. So Thomas Blossom, this guy here, my 11th great grandfather, he is the ancestor of both Barack Obama and George H.W. Bush and Wild Bill Hickok, among others. So, actually, Will, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And then we have my most famous, my closest ancestor of royalty, my 15th great grandfather, James IV of Scotland. And then let me show you one more here. I keep doing this wrong. Since we've been talking about him, Alexander Hamilton's my 3rd cousin 9 times removed, because I am descended from his ancestor here, John Hamilton, born in 1605. My 11th great grandfather is a common ancestor with Alexander Hamilton, and I'm descended from the Hamiltons a couple of different ways. Chris Johnson, thank you. Thoughts on the UK being told their army was barely tier 2 force and couldn't protect them from an invasion. I think a lot of that comes from how quickly France was overrun, so there was a lot of fear about whether or not the Brits could hold either, and probably not altogether unfounded. I ever thought of claiming the Scottish throne. Unfortunately, I descend from an illegitimate line, so not happen. I've been to Cedar Point many times, and if you're into roller coasters, absolutely worth it. Not really into too many conspiracy theories. Favorite South Carolina historic site. I want to get to Cowpens. I haven't been there. Kings Mountain's in South Carolina, isn't it? Or is it right on the? It's like right on the border. The Kings Mountain battlefield, I think, is in South Carolina. Yeah. So that would be probably my favorite historic site in South Carolina, is the Kings Mountain battlefield. Favorite war movie? That's tough. Wow. Band of Brothers is my favorite war series. So, all right, let's do these real quick, and then we'll do a little bit more Q&A. Okay, this looks like... This has got to be China during World War II or just after. I'm going to say like 47. 54, all right, that was after Korea. All right, this has got to be... 60 is not a bad guess. I might just guess 60. 1959. I was a year off on that one. All right. Wow. I'm getting 1930s vibes from this one. Maybe early 30s. Let's go 34. 45. Man, I suck at the old. Like if they were old pictures, I'd do much better at it. All right, so we got some one of these Orthodox Jews here. This one's giving me like a 90s vibe. I'm going to go like 1996, the year after I graduated high school. 2006. I'm awful. I'm so awful at this. All right, those are jets. Those have got to be Korean War era jets, right? So I'm going to say like 1950. 1949. All right. Not great. Not great. I haven't been to any historical sites in Michigan, so I can't really recommend any, unfortunately. A reaction to Harlem Hellfighters? Yeah, definitely be doing something about them here soon. Some baseball content. The only thing I've really done about baseball so far, Zach, was my video from Lakeview Cemetery where I talked about Ray Chapman, the Indians player who was killed when he was hit by a pitch in 1920. I visited his grave. Any cool Indiana historical sites? That's where the battlefield of Tippecanoe is, isn't it? The Old Hermit. Glad you're here. General tier list for the American War of Independence. Ooh, that's a good idea, Admiral History. I like that. I got to start making a list of all the suggestions people give me so I can remember some of them. I do play FIFA. I was actually thinking about playing some FIFA today. Did I ever ban the letter M in my household? It'd be hard because our last name starts with an M. But no. Mountain Dew is my favorite soda, or pop as we call it. Bannister Tarleton, is he comparable to Forrest? Yeah, that's a favorable comparison, I think. Any ancestors fight in the English Civil War? I had an ancestor who was a general in the English Civil War. Edward Whalley was one of Cromwell's leading generals and was one of the guys who signed the death warrant of King Charles. Brazil is something I like to do some history on. I don't have much of a opinion on that. World War General tier list is a good idea. Favorite historical site in Ohio? Lakeview Cemetery, what I just mentioned. Would I like to serve under Charles Lee in the Battle of Monmouth, only so I could knock him the heck out and take over and lead the attack? No banned letters in our house, no. Monarchy or republic? Constitutional monarchy, 100%. 23rd August 1939 or 23rd August 1944? I'll say 39 just because my grandpa was 8 days old on the 23rd of August 1939. And we just lost him a few months ago. What historic site haven't I been to yet that I'd like to get to? Normandy, coming soon. Little Bighorn Battlefield here in the States, also hopefully coming soon. I'd like to get up to Culloden in Scotland. I want to go to Skipton Castle in Yorkshire because my family owned that castle back in the day. I haven't played Assassin's Creed for a long time. Would I want to lead an army in battle? I feel comfortable that I'd be able to do that. Would I want to be in battle, though? No. What army would I be most confident in commanding? Ooh, good question. Gosh. I think a Civil War army just because I understand those battles and those tactics and those weapons better than any other. I did see the Grand Tactician career mode. Super excited about that. Favorite history period, American Civil War. Rather fight in World War I or World War II? World War II. I'd rather do just about anything than fight in World War I. I haven't been to Fallen Timbers. I'd like to. Which one? Are you talking about the Fallen Timbers from the one from 200 years ago, or the one that was the aftermath of the Battle of Shiloh in the Civil War? Because I have been to that one. Next reaction series. Frederick the Great is probably coming soon. I'll probably put up another vote for members and patrons on that. Why do I like monarchy? I like the stability of it. I like the symbolism of it. I think it works as long as you still have an elected legislature. Steve, thank you. I have been to the McKinley Museum and Historic. I actually made some videos there when I was with there. My son has a lot of soccer tournaments at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is like right across the street from the McKinley Museum. So I did some videos when I was there. I just never put them up. All right, let's do a couple more questions here, and then we're going to be wrapping this up here. I've been streaming since 2 o'clock, so my voice is getting a little tired. I haven't been to San Jacinto. I've never played a song on the bagpipes. I've seen it played, but no, never played it myself. If I could live anywhere other than Ohio, where would I live? It would be Scotland, and my family would probably agree with me on that. My daughter is like obsessed with living in the Highlands. And I don't blame her a bit. It's amazing there. We absolutely loved our time. If you have kids or you're in a family at all, you know that when you go on a family vacation, very often after you've been together in hotel rooms for a few days and in close quarters, you kind of get tired of each other. That did not happen. We were in the UK for 2 weeks, and we were so sure that, like, my wife was sure that 2 weeks was too long, and that we were going to be like wanting to get home before that. We got to the end of those 2 weeks and we were trying to figure out how we could stay longer. Like, we loved it that much and we were enjoying it that much that we wanted to stay. So we'll definitely go back. Why can't you video from the window where Oswald took out Kennedy? You're not allowed to. You can go to the window above it, and I actually made a video there, but they don't allow, like, you can't actually stand in that spot to be able to do a video. AdRev hasn't been doing any more shenanigans, but I also haven't done any more oversimplified videos. So we'll see when their next video comes out what happens. So, all right, guys. I'm sorry if I did not get to your question, but we'll do more of this in the near future. Thank you guys to everybody who donated and for joining the stream, and I'll see you guys again real soon.